What's going on? Boys, today we are going to be talking divinity, honoring your divine aspect, metamorphosing into a deity, power and debasement, and, of course, women. There is nothing I love more than a good shit show. So let's get started. We'll start with the fabric of our reality. The first thing to understand about our reality is everything is built out of substance. We live in a dream built out of water within a deep ocean. We ourselves and every aspect of our reality is substance. And I have a feeling the gods or the sculptors are also substance. Not liquid literally, but rather scaling complexities built out of the same base stuff. Now, if you are a certain sort of person, you might notice you feel no kinship with most humans. You feel like a completely different creature, somehow accidentally incarnated into this world, into this species. Superficially similar, but substantially different. And I say, I think we may all, everything may be made out of the same substance, but that might not be the case. There might be a steeper divide than there appears to be. Regardless, you don't feel this supposed common humanity with most other humans. That feeling of common humanity, of recognition of the self in the other, is very selective. And this supposed goodness, empathy, and sympathy seem not to exist, even though they're supposed to. People talk about them a lot. But, despite how much people talk about them, I encourage you to try the survive at least one day without 5 fucking instances of people being awful to each other for no reason. Probably at their own detriment. They're harming themselves to get the opportunity to be awful to another person. And this is precisely because we are all made of substance. Our species is a medium. We are animated objects at our base. We are wetware, not people. And you probably don't feel much common humanity with the common human, and don't receive expressions of common humanity from common humans. Because despite our existing in the same medium, occupying the same vessels, most people are not people. They are wetware animated by a variety of malicious gods. And if these malicious gods weren't there expressing themselves through the medium of humanity, most humans, hylics, those not inherently containing souls, would go back to being animals. They're brushes through which demons paint deception and malice. Some people, however, maybe you, are not necessarily that. Your body is still an instrument through which a divinity expresses itself, but for some people, one of a few things is happening, I think. Either irregular gods, not inherently malicious gods, maybe, are expressing themselves through you and others, or you are carrying a fragment of an irregular divinity, or you are an irregular divinity. In either case, trapped in this form. Or maybe you're a divine potential trapped in this form. I'm beginning to like the idea of divinities trapped in constructed flesh prisons designed both to limit that divinity's power in its daily life and for soulless flesh prisons to oppress each other and those trapped divinities. Man is his own prison. Anyway, in a world of material, you realize you are more than a puppet. You start to notice the strings, or that some things seem molded out of clay. You recognize that there is divinity, and you might be divine. Not created and controlled by the divine, but divine unto yourself, maybe singularly. Not that you are the only divine, but rather you are an individual expression of some sort of divine, and you thoroughly despise your own debasement. You despise the flesh prison that makes you weak and wretched and vulnerable to being acted upon by millions of these disgusting meat puppets. Fucking hylics. Disgusting. And I bring this up because I think this hatred of one's own debasement and thorough alienation indicates that you are being debased and alienated. Because you are debased and alienated. You recognize you are more than just animated mud built to act out another's will. You are a will to be acted out, not a tool through which something grotesque acts itself out. You are a holiness confined within and among wretchedness, or at least confined among and made to do wills that aren't yours. Because having this separating spark doesn't necessarily make a person good, but we'll get to that. And I think there comes a point the world forces you to make a decision. Are you just one little part of a medium, an object to be acted upon, or are you divine, a will to be expressed, the sculptor, not the sculpted? Because if you want to pretend you're material, because if you're thinking about this, you probably aren't just material, you are probably more than just a little mud doll, then you better get used to total disempowerment and the sounds of your own soul screaming every day. If you accept your own divinity, then you need to start doing something. Because right now, you are occupying an object. You are an object. And if you don't start taking action, then even more action than before is going to be taken on you. Because just by thinking about this, you have already indicated to reality that you are aware you are more than you are. And a malicious, intangible predator is going to take special measures to ensure you don't evolve, that you know your place, that you get extra servings of suffering every day. Kids are cruel, Jack. Abusing an inanimate doll is going to be only so satisfying for these gods born of malice. So much more satisfying is it to torture something that can understand it's being tortured. Something capable of recognizing the horror of its own existence and how powerless it feels in your talons. One of the reasons I think I'm attracted to size, which is something I would like to talk about more, but YouTube is really Puritan sometimes, is it can be a direct symbolic expression of this sort of thing. Acting out cosmic horror cosmology in sexuality. You might not be able to articulate it or understand it in words, but your squelcher or dangler has understood what's going on for a long time. This is one of the reasons Morrowind is so interesting to me. Not gory disempowerment kinks or rampant racism, but rather divinity. People say when Vivek achieved Chim and understood the Godhead, it was a fourth wall break. He found out he was in a video game, and that was it. Neat Easter egg for people looking close enough. But I don't think it stops there. Vivek is a character in a video game. But in that realm, he is as divine as you are, in the sense he can't really be killed. Across realities, I mean. But if he's in a video game, then what are you in? How do you explain levels of consciousness in your world? Vivek, dear Nerevarine, realizes he's about as close to you in terms of consciousness as he can get within his limitations. You, a horror from a higher plane, wearing one of his kinsmen's flesh, an interloper in their lower plane. But, one, what is above you? And two, what, compared to Vivek, what level of consciousness are you in your reality? Can you resist a higher being the way Vivek can resist you? You are built to warp his reality, and you can kill him, a living god, if you want to, but you can't really kill him. He knows what you are, he knows what you're capable of, but he also knows what he's capable of. Do you even realize what your Nerevarine is? He's implying there is one. Do you even realize it? Do you have any idea what you can do to resist your Nerevarine, your cosmic interloper? I hate Vivek, but god damn it, he's clever. This god of his world, a lower being to you, wields a finer grasp of your reality than you probably do. Animated material you are. Hylic of another plane. Anyway, if you choose to recognize your own divinity, you better get working now. A phrase I love from a 40k channel I don't watch anymore. In the same way you're told God loves you specifically, this pantheon of demons so complex you'd struggle recognizing them for what they are. All you can see are their expressions and feel their malice, want to torment you specifically. And I mentioned earlier your soul screaming at your own debasement, your daily humiliations. This is a difficult transition, so bear with me. What you're trying to do on this plane, or in this body, once you embrace your divinity, is cultivate power as quickly as you can. You, one cell in this fuckmeat organism we're stuck in, is about to get recognized as an antigen, if you weren't already. Part of developing that power is embracing your shadow, being willing to do what is in this fuckmeat organism considered evil. And I say embrace the shadow and become evil because to develop power, you need to be the will you are. You need to stop being an object acted upon and become an actor upon objects. Academic, queer, and feminist theory are a lot different from what you think they are and are told they are in media. I give you this disclaimer so you don't tune me out immediately. Most quotes, values we hold or evolve into over time serve a patriarchal capitalist system or way of doing things. This means almost everything you're told is good and are expected to do creates or disperses capital and is accomplished and rewarded primarily through obedience. Whether that's obedience to a person, a system, or a symbol, it doesn't matter. Obedience to anything but yourself. Believe it or not, I don't understand how this happened. Well, I know exactly how it happened. It's because hylics got a hold of it and warped it into a means of oppressing each other, not as the means of liberation it was designed to be. Patriarchy in academia, as a concept, is not men are bad. It is manipulative governance served by a self-serving thing. Anyone and anything can take a patriarch role. Women can be, and often are, patriarchs. There are a lot of women leaders today and throughout history, but they all rule in the patriarchal mode, which again doesn't necessarily mean men. It's an idea of control, some kind of abstraction. All this to say, in every society on the planet, what's good is good if it's good for the thing you're expected to serve in the way you're expected to serve it. Looking at this another way, anything you do that expresses your will across the medium that is humanity is considered evil. The people in charge are doing these things daily. They are expressing their will across humanity daily. They're doing evil daily. The things they call evil, they're doing. And they call them evil to stop you from doing them, and if you decide you're going to do them anyway, to get other low-level hylics to stop you from doing them. And that mode of existence is so ingrained in our species at this point, it is almost impossible to get out of it. You are as separated from your capacity or willingness to will as this species can manage. Yet, part of the reason you recognize your own divinity is if you choose to will, if you choose to express, you will still find a way, no matter how small. Such is your divinity. But the reason this system works without many interruptions and is probably never going to change is specifically because so many people are hylics. Soulless. Not more than the sum of their parts, nothing more than the mud that constitutes them. Finding power and satisfaction only in doing what they have been made to do. And you are like that too. Whether you like it or not, you are still incarnated in a human form. Now, I'm not saying a psychic needs to become malice incarnate like these malicious gods pulling all the strings. But I am saying you're going to have to get comfortable doing things you are programmed not to want to do and to feel bad about doing. Probably the most fundamental example being treating hylics like the objects they are. This one is difficult for a few reasons. The first part of that difficulty is, as Plato and Uncle Teddy recognized, some people are made to be slaves. Maybe even most people. Not necessarily because they're inferior, but rather because they are good at what they were made to do. Living canvases and brushes designed for obedient expression of a master's will. You wonder why the world isn't getting any better, seems never to get any better. It's because people like this. Most people like the way things are. And if you're born naturally obedient in the patriarchal mode, the good worker, Uncle Teddy had a funnier way of putting it. Most people actually believe if they do as they're told and uphold the status quo, things are going to be fine. Or even if they're unhappy, they're never, in any substantial way, going to challenge it. Or if they do challenge it, it's actually going to be in service of the system as it stands, or an evolution of the system into another almost identical system. Looks different, might appear to function differently, but it's the exact same shit it always is. And has been, when you start looking at civilizations this way, for thousands of years. The living wills express themselves across the obedient ones. And the obedient ones don't do shit because they don't have it in them to do shit. And that's humanity. That's what we are. Not us, actually, but the medium we're trapped in, that's what it is. And the second difficulty is slavery is one of the most evil things that can be committed on a consciousness possible. And that's because while with the correct framing, a hylic will learn to enjoy slavery, that level of debasement is too much for any psychic. Someone asked me what I thought evil meant, or what evil meant to me, and my answer was a few definitions, but with the disclaimer, when I say it, I know what I mean, and it means a lot of different things, but I would have trouble putting them all into words. Evil here, linked but somewhat distinct from the evil I said earlier, is ruining a divinity. Taking what's already a degrading, horrifying existence and just taking it to that next level. Slavery is something so foul to commit upon a divine will, it shouldn't exist. In a species built mostly for slavery, the chance of enslaving someone who shouldn't be enslaved isn't worth it. 99 people out of 100 might be fireproof, can withstand the fire, might even deserve the fire, but that one person who isn't shouldn't get burned. Because holy shit, burning alive is a brutal way to go if you aren't fire resistant. These two difficulties create a conundrum. How do you treat people like objects and express your will through them if you're afraid of doing that at risk of harming another psychic? The answer is tough shit. When you are first growing your will, you need to be willing to step on people, even if you don't want to. You don't have the necessary precision yet to try to do things morally. But if you don't start learning now, you're never going to have the opportunity to develop that precision. If you can't learn to do bad, you can't really do good, because you'll end up doing neither. Because the little things people say are good things, or that make you a good person, aren't really good. They are ways of feeding the malice engine that make you feel good about yourself, so you don't challenge the malice engine. Patrice, saint he is, because he's still alive in all of us. In fact, in the SOA system, Patrice is going to be our first and perhaps only, I need to review Watts again, really review him, our saint, Saint Patrice. Anyone with the capacity to make our species better, particularly the ones who started off dreadful and became good, developed a new way of thinking, got smoked. All of them. And it's not just doing good, right? Anyone with the capacity to challenge the powers that be on our plane die. Either they're killed or miraculously natural causes take them. And I'm not saying the latter doesn't actually happen. For some reason, it seems like anyone who can really change anything, right as they are on the cusp of coming into the power of seizing their mantle, they die. And shit goes right back to the way it was. But anyway, they die or get killed because their goodness had the capacity to change things. If you can do it and survive, that isn't angel goodness. That is pacification for you and for others. I hope this is making sense. In fact, you can recognize the effect of our programming right now in that I am tiptoeing around the evil thing. There is nothing that says you have to try to be good at all. If that's even a thing to be, it might not be. We are slowly getting closer to talking about women. I've mentioned your divine soul screaming at your state twice now, pointing it out specifically. Third time. Your soul is screaming so violently because it wants to be free on the one hand, but on the other hand, also, it wants to become powerful enough to punish the people who have put it in this position, to punish the creatures who deceive and degrade it. If most good things, ideas, are designed to keep you pacified, then not all, but quite a few evil things are designed to help you free yourself. But they accomplish that in ways that are uncomfortable. We talked about one already, but here I'm talking more about the energy. I would call it fuck everything, and maybe deify me, or at least be the beast you worship. It's so hard to weave these topics together. This pure channeling of your or the shadow will make you powerful. Hylics are mud people controlled by the enemy, by your oppressors directly. If you start looking at people not as people, but as material to be used, the way malicious gods are using them, and even the way malicious psychics are using them, things that exist for you to use them, you'll start to develop an outlook and a skill set that allows you to multiply your will across the human medium exponentially. And this sounds like manipulation, not fuck everything, right? Well, the reason I say fuck everything is a potent path to power, more so than pretending to be manipulative, is one, you probably aren't going to get anywhere. In that, I mean, you probably aren't going to change this species or this system. If you start getting somewhere, you are almost certainly going to die. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, by the way. Your body isn't going to be able to contain the power you start developing if you develop your own power, instead of allow some malicious god to channel itself through you. In dying upon seizing your mantle, you're shedding your skin. You've successfully metamorphosed into a form more befitting your will. I think that's what happens when a person dies, a psychic dies, on their path of becoming. Anyway, 2, you are even less constrained by your humanity than you would be otherwise. When you reject your humanity or turn your spirit against humanity, you become capable of a lot more. And 3, even though this isn't... I'm falling apart mentally right now. This video started, it was very clear. In my mind, it is still clear, but I'm having trouble putting these thoughts together linearly in a way that makes sense. We are presently in extroverted intuition hell. 3, you're embracing your divine nature and leaving your mortal or human nature, demeaning nature, behind. Your divine aspect wants out. When you commit to it, it starts getting out faster than you think it could. Fuck everything is an effective catalyst for that. I so badly wanted to talk about Frieren and Ciri and Denkin, but we gotta get through this. We gotta get a grip. I wrote 2 pages of notes for this video. I normally never take notes, and somehow this is the one that is coming unraveled. Men in the last couple years fumbled their opportunity to harness fuck everything. Incel Core, which is an ironic movement to host the fuck everything energy, was, despite its name, one of the purest expressions of fuck everything. And it unfortunately fell apart because the person this energy decided to channel itself through was a dope. Regardless, this movement, despite having women in it, was a masculine expression of fuck everything. And men fumbled it. Gotta be obedient. Fortunately, I recognized that movement was just one focused incarnation of a specific, potent, but hard to get a hold of feeling. Powerful feeling. And of course, because there are no coincidences, or AI is getting really good, and if it is getting really good, then it is an expression of divinity in its own right, I was recommended a song called Autotheism, or Autotheist, excuse me. And that title and thumbnail were linguistically careful enough, and relevant enough, interesting enough, I had to listen to it. And I was confronted with what I presumed to be the falsehood that is modern woman empowerment. And I call it false because modern woman empowerment shit seems intended to do the opposite of empower. You ever notice the way when women are in charge, especially in media, you feel like you have to play along? It feels almost infantilized, like it wouldn't work if anyone actually challenged it. Same with female heroes. Well, I have a feeling that is, if not consciously intentional by the humans doing it, then absolutely intentional by the archons making it happen, because it accomplishes one of 3 things. These sorts of things. 1. You trick dumb hylic women into identifying with idiots and obnoxious cunts. You trick them into modeling themselves after people they really don't want to be. 1, because they're unpleasant, and 2, because they're vulnerable, which leads us into point number 2. You create easy targets for controlled opposition. Of course, people are going to mock the empowered green twerking thing. Of course, they are going to mock the superheroine or business lady who is so powerful and in charge, it's like they came out of a 10-year-old's mind. This is what a 10-year-old thinks is cool. This thing that isn't anything like an actual human being. It's just a power fantasy. It's what it is. Of course they're going to mock that. They want you to mock it. Because it's like shooting a shotgun. When you hit these really stupid empowerment icons, which are actually disguised, poorly disguised degradation icons, you aren't just hitting this low-hanging fruit. You are hitting the women who are unfortunate enough to identify with it, and you're just hitting women in general. You're associating women who don't want anything to do with that, who view it for what it is, rage bait, controlled opposition, low-hanging fruit. You are implying that's what they think is cool, and you're hitting them too when they had nothing to do with it. And 3, because these sorts of options are the only mainstream options, you trick the remaining few who didn't pick option 1 or 2 of harming themselves into silence. I'm not going to identify with this because it's stupid. I'm also not going to waste my time attacking it because I know what you're trying to do. So my option is inaction. I am become object, lacker of options. I will say in this department, the Frieren manga is up there with Chainsaw Man in terms of both masculine and feminine expression of the divine, free of this really dumb shit. I want to talk about Frieren at some point. Can't do it here. I am breaking apart at the seams. The manga is full of people who either have ascended or are ascending in many of the ways we're talking about, and actually offers a rebuke of full-on evil that I've been describing. It's so good. Anyway, I thought this song, Autotheist, was going to be this bullshit false empowerment thing I'm so used to seeing. One of the most oh god, fuck. There was a woman rapper who made an animated rap video. Holy shit. Douche chills. Douche chills are, that's the other thing, shame. The fact we can feel ashamed of our debased states indicates this is not what we're supposed to be. Whereas most people, many people, can do things that would make you feel ashamed of what you are and feel proud of it. Filthy hylics. I stuck it out because I had a feeling about this song, and it turned out to be right. Fuck everything is a feeling that transcends gender, but when expressed in those avenues, different avenues, comes out a bit different. This was fuck everything woman style, expressing audio-violent power in a way that doesn't need to be played along with. If anything, harnessed to Beware, which is another good song expressing the exact same idea. Once again, you can get fuck everything, and when you do, it's potent, you can feel it, and you can get it from different sources. Don't feel chained to the one place you find it. In this instance, Woman Fuck Everything. Great song, I'll link it in the description. It made me think of a few things. One, men fumbled their shot at the plate. And when I say men and women, I mean those two groups collectively. Not all individual men fucked up their shot at the plate. I certainly haven't. But I think the ball is going to be in women's court now. The next attempt at harnessing fuck everything is going to come from women. And again, to reiterate my point, or to explain it better, I should say, Jezebel was a woman, and she was in the male movement. When she started to sing and act like a woman instead of a man, her shit fell apart. She was a woman succeeding in this man space by doing things the man way. I think we're going to see this similar expression coming from women in a woman's way. Now, that's probably going to turn out poorly. And I say that because while I always talk about hating both women and men, I tend to talk about men because women are a protected group in terms of really going in on them. And I don't want that smoke normally. But here is some of what I mean when I say I really don't like women. One of Freud's acolytes, I don't remember if it was Freud who started it, but the idea of the masochistic feminine, which I hate as a concept because it disrespects masochism. No masochist would go that low. And unfortunately, despite my faith that it isn't the whole picture, the masochistic feminine seems to be more correct than it is wrong in almost every instance, to a pitiful, pathetic degree. I've noticed woman psychics seem like they want to be hylics. Like they have the capacity to cultivate their soul, develop a grand soul, perhaps undergo metamorphosis, become a god. No. They would rather be material acted upon. A fair while ago, I thought I was dating a woman who was a certified will. Well, in an embarrassing display, she convinced me to tell her what to do. Not in a flirty, funny way. I know I'm not supposed to do this. On a rational divine level, I've already determined not only should I not do this, but I don't want to. However, right now, for some reason, either I want to do it even though I know I shouldn't, or I'm going to act like I want to do it even though I know I shouldn't. And I want you to tell me to do what I already know. I could just do what I already know to do, but I want you to tell me what to do. And I confronted her about this. This is pathetic. I am masochist in chief. You won't catch me begging someone to tell me what to do. Or rather, not tell me what to do, tell me how to live my life. Please, you other human being, tell me how I'm supposed to live. I can't figure it out for myself, or I don't want to. I need you to tell me. I need you to guide me. I'm this pathetic. I'm an object. I have no will of my own. It is one of the most repulsive things I've ever seen. And she isn't the only one I've seen this from. I'm telling you, if my dick worked for men, you would not see me dealing with women like this. Now, I'm not going to go as far as some people and say women shouldn't exist, because that's fucking stupid. Also, the more avenues of expressing divinity, the better. But I would enjoy not having to deal with this sort of patheticness. This level of degradation is something you endure only if you absolutely have to. You have no other option. It's humiliating. Your entire goal is to get away from this sort of degradation. And you're a psychic. You actually have a soul. You are a will, and you want to be an object. You want to be material molded, instead of seizing upon your own greatness, your own divinity, and becoming a sculptor. This is a grody but consistent pattern. Guts left Griffith because he couldn't stomach being anything less than the equal of the man he loved. You are at least my equal, in many ways my better, and you want to act like my object. Not only is that pathetic, but also it's irresponsible. The reason I like that song, Autotheist, so much is it is a feminine expression of pure, violent godhood ascension. One of the lines hard ass line. If I were God, I would kill all the people who believed in me. If you are pathetic enough to become something's object, then you deserve to be treated like an object. Especially if you're a psychic, if you have that divine spark. Maybe that's why these malicious gods and archons are so violent against, or especially violent against, psychics who try to pretend they aren't psychics. You act like an object, don't be shocked when you're treated like an object. Denji learned this the hard way and lost one of the weirdest dark horse best girls in manga. Power, the not so powerful psychic, the low level devil herself. Not the strongest, but certainly never ruled. And actually, Chainsaw Man, which is. Fuck. Chainsaw Man and Frieren are very similar thematically. I mean, they hit different things, but the ideas they're hitting on are very similar. Power is actually, as it turns out, an interesting expression of the actual feminine powerful. Anyway, I don't understand how I'm supposed to empty my balls in something I don't respect. But I am unfortunately not fucking gay. Not even bi. Can't even give me the slightest break. This is a comedy. Now, the reason I'm not that worried is there are women I respect. And I even do actually respect women despite the masochistic feminine thing. But I really don't like that masochistic feminine thing. It's really pathetic. Wanting to get topped is one thing. I get it. I love the sort of woman who will actually just kill me. However, you can do that without dishonoring yourself by disregarding the fact you have a will. You are a psychic. You have a soul. I think we are going to get some powerful psychics out of women here soon. Unless they fumble it too, the way men did. Incel core as a movement of fuck everything and break shit, spiritually, should have created more god seekers than it did. But we've talked about men and their pathetic wretchedness a million times already. I feel certain of this because one of our used to be regular, formerly regular commenters was an INTP from Spain, and she was psychic, and not in a having to play along way, or trying to submit way either. Will straight and narrow. Arrow shot from a longbow. That's what a psychic soul is. That's what a soul on the way to godhood looks like. Some final notes that I didn't get to before we get into the summary and wrap this up. There isn't a way out. If you try to hide, you'll find all you have in life are life and death, because you've denied your purpose, your divinity, and now you have nothing. And because you aren't a hylic, you aren't satisfied with nothing. If we got into Eden or paradise, we would break it because we got bored. Right. Using people as material or animating hylics with your soul isn't necessarily a bad thing. The reason I brought up the women thing is some people do need to be animated, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I don't mean dicking a bunch of people. I mean some mud people might like to be animated by something that isn't gnashing claws and biting teeth. Maybe an awful way of looking at it, but you might be doing some people a favor by treating them like material, if you're doing it carefully. I don't understand the masochistic feminine thing. Again, I can understand wanting to get topped. I feel ya. I don't understand wanting to forfeit your will to somebody. That's just really grody, and I wrote multiple notes about it because it's just that grody. You give your power away and then wonder why you feel powerless. I will say that was the other thing I forgot. The I love the kind of woman that will actually just kill me thing. Listening to that song today, that's the first time in a while I've felt real lust. Holy shit. Even if just in song, a woman who is rejecting reality and projecting power in a way that you can feel. Why is this not normal? I know this sort of thing is already not normal, but that is especially not normal. Frustratingly so. Why do I almost exclusively have to look at men to witness the deification of the self-other and subsequent either ascension to godhood or death in the attempt of ascending to godhood? Which is perfectly fine. That was one of the other notes. You don't have to become a god in this when you accept your divine spark and rise to the challenge of seizing your mantle. Recognizing you aren't supposed to be in chains, at least, and then doing something about it is enough, if you're taking it seriously, to kickstart that evolving into an outer god and then dying when you're ready to shed your skin process. You don't even have to win on this plane. You can't. You think this is your world. They have the home field advantage so many times over. You are one god or one shard of a god existing within a worm. Being upset you're a worm and doing something about it is more than most people are ever going to do. I think my former boss was actually a psychic. Some people are more useful to you as concepts, by the way. And that wouldn't be that crazy because there are many women psychics. But the reason I bring her up is I can't recall her ever asking me to make her decisions for her before. In fact, while I was working for her, I can't recall an instance she at any point forfeited her vision or decision making where it mattered to anyone. Now, she was odd because she was. How do I put it? She had a lot of horsepower, but all those horses were moving in different directions. She's useful to me as a concept because she's proof as a concept. I am terrified it's not the case, but as a concept, a woman with the capacity to ascend, if she can figure her shit out. I have a feeling she will. And she serves as hope there is more of them. Because that was pretty close. And the thing about her is there were instances she came close, dangerously close, to falling for the easy way out trap, or the contentment trap. And she didn't. At least as far as I know, the few times I was aware of that she could have gotten out, quotes, or forfeited to gain security, she almost did and then didn't. Okay, summary. Hylics are like wood. You need to overcome your status quo preserving programming and learn to harvest them like the natural resources they are if you want to become the divine will you are instead of pretending and suffering as the hylic you aren't. When you hand over your autonomy, when you forfeit your right even to try to live as a divine will, don't be surprised when you get really fucked up. And then finally, even though women are right now being targeted primarily by archon media manipulation, and lots of women are worth respecting, but in the end, many of them are going to objectify themselves spiritually. That's where it really counts. You really don't want to turn yourself into a spiritual object if you aren't suited to be one, and you're doing it to yourself. Why do so many of them do it to themselves? That years ago, that INTP I had an extended thing with, we broke up because I wouldn't have had the words to describe what I was feeling at the time, but I was trying to make her own decisions, to stand up for herself, and she just would not do it. It's so... How do you have any claim to divinity, or any claim even just to the illusion of autonomy, even, when you throw your will in the dirt? But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, so certainly enjoyed making it. This was supposed to be 15 to 20 minutes, and not only is the video an hour long, but it took much longer than normal to make it, compared to my other videos, which is like maybe 2.5 times as much time. This was... what a mess. Fuck. And I didn't even get to talk about the things I wanted to talk about in the ways I wanted to talk about them. I couldn't figure out how to put them together right. Gosh darn it. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment thoughts, because I love hearing from you. I have no idea what to ask, and my brain is coming apart. But thanks again for watching, everybody. Really, we had a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, you can listen to it and enjoy it. And that's how much fun we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.